I get my foot wrapped around the mic cables, and because they exited from the front of the amplifier, I fall over backwards. Everything is pulled out, and I mean, it's not like it just disconnected. I ripped the damn wires out, right? And the sound thing goes nuts now at this point. It's drowning out the orchestra, and this guy, he's red.
Welcome to Achieving Failure, a podcast about the adventures of life. I'm your host, Chris, and join us each week as we bring you a collection of autobiographical stories that made us who we are. From the glitz and the glamour to hitting rock bottom, this is Achieving Failure. You too can almost be somebody.
Now, the one thing I have to ask is going through the old photographs, which me and Mike were talking about. Going through the old photos, we found a lot of old stuff from, I don't know, the 70s, 80s, whenever it was. I guess you called it Christian retreat camp, but there was a lot of, for a Christian retreat camp, there was a lot of nude magazines and revolvers and a lot of booze.
And who told you this?
Well, there's pictures that you have.
I have pictures with revolvers and...
Yeah, there's Uncle Jack looking at a revolver, and there's nudie magazines on the wall.
I don't remember that.
But one of the stories...
It was a lot worse than I remember.
Well, one of the stories that always made me laugh was...
Was it a real revolver? Oh, man, well, I'm going to have to check this out again.
But one of the stories was... Well, I mean, there's a couple of stories, but one of them was when Uncle Doug came to visit, I guess, this cabin, Christian retreat cabin, or even just a summer cabin. It was a long stretch of road, and Doug was on his way to visit you, and you guys would always mess with him. And you guys did that one, you kind of planted something in the middle of the road to mess with him. Do you remember what that was?
Well, yeah, but you got to remember this was like version 4 or 3 of a series of activities. The first of which I think was the most successful, and that was, the alien landing. Okay.
Well, no, hold on. I'm sorry. So how many successes were there? There was 4?
Well, we had gone there many times. Okay.
And this was where? This is
Lake Koinonia in New York.
Okay. And the reason you went was
because you go up there, you go, and as it's a Christian group, it's the church group, and you have some services and, prayers, and you discuss things and so forth. And we fulfilled those obligations. But in addition, we had to have some entertainment. So one of the entertaining things was we put together this idea that what would it be like if, maybe we could have aliens land, and there were a mixture of young people, male and female. We could have, and a chaperone, 2 adults who turned out to be less than adults, okay? More like kids themselves, mentally. But we said, wow, how would we do that? I said, well, I have the equipment to do that. We're going to record alien sounds, and I said, I got it. We'll do a radio program playing music, and then we'll break in with an emergency message. There's aliens landing, like right in that town, and then we could have some lights go off in the. This is the deep woods, so it's a lake and there's woods, and it gets very dark at night. So we could have some lights go on and off, and we could have this multi-track, so there'd be multiple speakers with sounds from different places. I said, oh, this sounds complicated. I said, it is complicated, but we could do it. We have the technology. So we recorded hours and hours of these sound effects and synchronized them beautifully. There was one little hitch that had to happen, and that is we had to we were playing some radio at the time. I said, let me tune in a better station. And of course, the station I tuned in was the recording. Everything downstairs, everything pre-wired. And at the exact appropriate time, when it was dark enough outside, we were listening to the radio, and everybody's happy, and we're kibitzing. And then all of a sudden, we hear this announcement. I said, wait, whoa, listen. Did you hear that announcement? Yeah. we interrupt this program to bring you the announcement about the alien that have landed and we name the town. And they go, Eldred, New York. Oh my God, that's like, we're here. This is it. And then sound effects goes off. And we didn't expect people to get so excited. One of the girls fainted. Everybody else panicked. And then somebody, like right out of the movie script, said, turn off the lights. I don't know why the hell anybody would even say turn off the lights, but they said, let's turn off the lights, which was perfect because that was total panic. All you needed a couple of us to start moving around, touching people, and that was it. It went berserk. Absolutely. It was a little out of control. So we were actually worried. We thought we'd have to take this one girl to the hospital because she was just hyperventilating and just all over the place. And finally, we had to fess up and say, okay, look, let's settle down. No, it's real. I said, okay, you know what? Come downstairs in the basement. I'll show you the equipment. Oh, my God. Okay, all right. It was fine. Okay, so a year goes by and we're back and we're going to Koinonia. And I say, that was good, but we could do much better than that. We could do much better. So every year we'd get a little bit better. And one year, my buddy George and I said, this is going to be it. Let's script it. Let's get it all set up. We're going up the day before. Okay? Why are we going up the day before? It's going to take us a day to wire the house. We went under the house. We installed transducers, speakers, microphones, wiring, lights, all manner of things that would just be incredible. Now, this all had to be synchronized. We piled all the equipment in the back of my buddy's Jeep. Everything wired, probably 4 or 5 decks, electronics. And we had it so that we could actually literally back the Jeep up to the house and just plug the Jeep into the house. Everything was there. Perfect. Nobody was any the wiser. And George somehow had found a stoplight, a traffic light. I said, whoa, we can't let this go unused. I said, let's put it in the middle of the woods.
Now, is it one of those like hanging traffic lights?
It's a real traffic light, like a real one. And it's huge. It's like 4 foot high. And that took us time to hang that and get it set up and then have the switch panel so that you could do red, yellow, green, green, yellow, red. And there's where you remember Doug coming up and sitting there for 10 minutes while the stoplight was on in the middle of the friggin' forest with no other cars around at all. But that was, but that wasn't the fun part because imagine now, I can't reenact the scene because it was too complicated. But when you entered the cabin, the first thing you saw was blood everywhere. And as you entered a little further on, there was a hanging body, a dead person. It was Ralph. Ralph was dead, and he had hung himself, and he was pale. You could see he was clearly dead. He'd been there for days. And everyone walks in, and they all start laughing. And I said, Ralph is dead, and you're laughing. They said, we know. This can't be, real. And I said, God damn it, we're so good at this, right? Then they got it the first time through. We had all sorts of gags, and the stoplight was the best one because I guess they realized how good we were at all of this. So Ralph goes, I've been hanging up here for like 4 hours. I wanted a better response than that, right? It was a thing of beauty. The only thing I regret is that it was not documented photographically. That would have been good. Yes.
Well, that was the one thing that we used to laugh about because now that we look at it, and that's kind of the reason why we've been doing this whole podcast, is it's more of my passion project, love letter to the old days of running around with a camcorder to reminisce about old times. And you look at it 20, 30 years later, and it's just, you laugh and have a good time. And unfortunately, with the way things are going, I mean, the only reason why people run around with a camera is to take videos of stupid shit. It's not even fun anymore. It's like, just, okay, you have a camera. It's just nobody takes a picture of their family. It's not like the way it used to be. So the reason I'm doing this is now to try and at least bring back what made me happy and made me want to tell stories and things like that. But the one thing that we always laugh about, and whenever we get Mike, is just the whole apple picking and how year after year after year, it just got more and more almost ridiculous or just more and more involved.
Yeah, and those are, crazy times, silly times, and memorable times.
Now, who started that? Is that because there's this back and forth that this started before we were kids. This started long before we were kids, and then there was other rumors that it started around kind of just a family gathering after.
Well, it's not unusual, especially in northern New Jersey, where there are a lot of apples and apple picking. It's a tradition for families to do that. So, yeah, your mom and I had done that before we had kids, and it was a beautiful tradition to add to our family and our friends. So we kind of were the ones who said, we're going apple picking. We sent out invitations. We had groups together. They'd come back to our house, and we sort of made it a tradition, amongst our close friends. And it was a nice tradition, and it's funny, and it's silly. And of course, our friends' kids did a lot of silly things that were fun. And there's a good memories. I can't help but believe that, if there's someone listening to this, they probably have similar stories that they probably should share with you, because that would be, you think you're the only ones, but no, there are a lot of people with stories like this.
Well, I mean, because we got to think as kids, I remember it wasn't just us. It was just a plethora of minivans, people pouring out into the orchard. There were people like every year.
It's an event. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
We used to look forward to that, and it was a lot of food, a lot of fooling around and being silly and picking at. It was an excuse to have a party.
Yeah.
Right.
That was your September excuse to just go.
Whether or not, was to, hey, can we steal some apples? Shove some apples in, underneath the hood there. Or you put it in the wheel well, they'll never see it, And they wised up to that pretty quick. They just said, yeah, we don't care if you steal any. You owe us $80 going in. So it's pay up front and you do whatever you want, right?
Well, it used to be you pay going out, right?
You paid going out, right? And then they could I check your trunk? And then you'd try to, stick some in an old tire or something, or like you're getting away with something, right? Hey, I stole 20 cents worth of apples. Whoop-de-doo, But now they get you going in and you do whatever you want. You want to kill somebody, fine, whatever. Here, you want one of these long apple picking things with the sharp edges? Sure, here, $5. Right, and then of course that's what are two kids going to do when they have sharp instruments in their hands? They're going to try to hit each other with them, right? Wouldn't that be the most? No, they're for picking apples. Don't give the kids one of them. Wow, they have to have it. They're short. They need this long thing to hit it. Invariably, somebody gets it in the head.
Well, I know that was the immediate thing. It's the parents are like, "Hey, let's go pick apples," and in the kid's mind, the first thing that comes to their mind is, well, I'm going to go hit my sibling in the head with an apple.
Of course.
That's just how it became.
Why would you not think that? They're like, they're all over the ground. You pick them up, you try to hit somebody in the head. I think that's natural, right?
And I think that became the family tradition.
Perfect.
The parents would go pick apples and the kids would try to beam each other and knock each other
How do you learn
unconscious.
about poison ivy? Well, poison ivy grows on every apple tree in the world, okay? And you crawl up an apple tree, don't you? Yes. Okay, so not only do you get apples, you get poison ivy. And that's always fun, right? Not the same day, you get it the next day.
Now, what about as far as like growing up? I know growing up as a kid.
Actually, you reminded me of yet another incident. Actually, that was kind of funny. Same thing, we're there, we're doing the technical stuff. I was part of sound crew. And somebody said, you want to do Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday nights. They have a thing there. You get paid for it. I said, well, what is it? Sound. You can do the sound crew thing. I said, oh, yeah, I'll go.
And this is still in high school? Or
this is high school, yeah.
Okay.
And you got paid. It's an evening performance. I said, what is it? He says, Aida. I said, what do you mean, Aida? He said, the opera, Aida. They're going to run it, like 4 nights. I said, Oh, or how long is that? What's like 5 hours? I said, oh, Jesus Christ. Okay. So actually, I do like opera, but I don't like Aida. I think that's the reason why. And they have an orchestra. And again, the maestro is out there and he's all, I have to have everything just perfect. And I don't, who are you? I'm here for sound crew. We don't need sound. We don't need sound crew. This is an orchestra and it's opera. We don't use sound. I said, I was here for sound reinforcement. I was told to be here for that. And they said, I said, plus you have announcers that have to talk and they have microphones. And, goodness, I hate this stuff, So I got everything set up and everything's going fine. Oh, good evening, everybody. It's a beautiful evening and we have Aida here, special performance. Maestro, Vitellini, and he's very special and this is unusual for him to do a high school. So let's have a big round of applause for him. And then everything starts and, and the music's coming and all of a sudden I have to move my chair a little because I'm a little uncomfortable. I get my foot wrapped around the mic cables and because they exited from the front of the amplifier. I fall over backwards. Everything is pulled out. And I mean, it's not like it just disconnected. I ripped the damn wires out, right? And the sound thing goes nuts now at this point. It's drowning out the orchestra. And this guy, he's red. I mean, he's more than red. He didn't even want the sound. And now here I am competing for, attention. And I get to my feet. Oh, my God, hurry up. My chair is making noise. It's a metal chair. It's making it. Everyone's looking at me now. And I'm trying, ferociously to try to get these wires back in there. I don't have a light. And some of them are broken. And now I'm using my hands to twist the pairs of wires together. Panic all over the place. And they're trying to recover. And that really, I was on the spot on that one. That was not a fun evening. And then I had to go back and I had to repeat it the other 3 nights. Not the mistake. I mean, just being there. And although had it been popular, I would have repeated it, I guess, right? So he was not happy. And when 2 or 3 months passed, and I said to my boss, Mr. Lane, I said, Mr. Lane, I never got paid for that opera thing. And he says, they told me they weren't going to pay for it, for your audio reinforcement. I said, yeah, but he said, you know what? I didn't like them anyway. I'm gonna fight it. So he did. He finally got paid for this thing, but they were so miffed at me. I mean, just and just part of the fun things that you can do to screw things up.
Hey, this is your host, Chris, again. I would like to say thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode of Achieving Failure, and we hope you enjoyed our adventures. And if you have a life story you want to share with us, shoot us an email at aflvpodcast@gmail.com. That's AF, Achieving Failure, LV, Las Vegas, podcast@gmail.com. Thanks again, and we'll see you next week.